Hello and welcome to another episode of Battle Ready. And if you don't know, in the last couple of weeks, the very end of December, Games Workshop put out a Battlescroll, which is a series of updates and changes to the game balance. Now, I think most people, if you've been watching the YouTubes at all, you've seen a lot of people have comments about Battlescroll, good things and bad things. And almost all the ones that I saw looked at it from a very competitive standpoint, and we're not competitive players. We're very casual players. We enjoy the game, we have fun, but it's still important to us that the games have balance, and we want the rules to, to make sense and to give us a good time. I think your chairs are wiggling. Careful. So what I thought was we would take a look at the Battlescroll from our perspective, what we think. I think there's basically three parts of the Battlescroll: points adjustments, Warscroll changes for three of the big bads, and then rules changes.
Big bads or big lads?
Big lads. So we'll do the rules changes last. We'll go through them in that order because they'll be quick. First is points changes. They seemed fine.
I don't know what the point changes are. You never told me.
So the three that affect our armies the most is Bastillodons went up in points.
Yay!
So that's why I had to get rid of a group of Croxagors and bring in a Scarvet on cold one.
Yes, like you'll see in our thingy-majiggy.
Well, that was for Path to Glory, but I mean in our next 2,000 point battle. That's what that one's going to be. Bow Snakes, the Marathi's Snake Ladies, the Shooter Girls, the Blood Stalkers. I think the Sisters are the Stabbers. But anyway, they went up by about 10 points. And that was a bummer because my daughter's list was exactly 2,000 points.
So now you had to change it.
So now I'm going to get rid of Harpies and probably bring in a big endless spell. Maybe Soul Snare Shackles, or maybe...
those things are good to spawn.
Ravenex Gnashing Jaws?
Yeah, the Soul Snare Snap...
I know, it's hard to say.
The Shackles are good to spawn right on an objective.
Oh, they're great to spawn. If you control this objective here, and your opponent is going to charge in to get you,
Shackles.
Boom, Shackles right in the middle. It makes it so hard for them to get to you. It's pretty fantastic. So I like the Shackles defensively. Of course, you could do it offensively too, right? In the right spot, you throw the Shackles on somebody so they can't get out to get you while you go and do whatever. But yeah, I like the Shackles.
I see another thing that might be useful, but you'd have to bring two different endless spells.
What two?
This would be a really good defensive. It would be the Crystal Wall in the Shackles.
Oh yeah, that would make it really a pain to get through.
Thump the Crystal Wall right here, and you put this right behind the Shackles, right behind the Crystal Wall, so that you can't even go to the Crystal Wall or you're just stuck.
Yeah, that would be a pain for sure. So as far as the points, and then one thing that is good is a couple of the trolls in Gloomspite went down in points. Yeah. Both the Dankhold Trogboss and the Dankhold Troggoth.
Yes.
I think they went down about 10 points each.
Yes.
So that's both good, but it's also, I don't know that 20 extra points is going to give us that much more in our Gloomspite list.
I mean, it'll shave off 20 points that Squigcard's eating up. Because aren't they like 120 points?
Squigcard's 160. I don't think Squigcard's worth it at all.
Now with that, they're 140.
Well, no, they're 160, but you're two trolls. So anyway, the points adjustment seemed okay. A lot of the things hit armies that we don't really play, so it's hard for us to talk about the changes to cities or the changes to, Lumineth, right? I know the Sentinels went up. So, but overall, I didn't find that the points changes were that big of an issue. I didn't think any of them were wrong of the armies that we play. I didn't think anything went in the wrong direction, but I also didn't feel like they took a unit and made it debilitating. All right, so War Scrolls. First, what's the big guy?
Kratos?
No, the Grand Marshal of the Apocalypse, Archaon.
Okay.
Archaon got a new War Scroll. One of the things they changed about him was, one of the bigger things is that he doesn't benefit from Allegiance abilities anymore, except in Slaves to Darkness.
I think that is fair.
So he won't get to use Fate Dice if he's in Tzeentch. He can't give disease counters if he's in Nurgle. He's his own guy.
Yes.
Unless he's in Slaves to Darkness.
That is his leader.
Yeah. So that's sort of
fair.
cool.
That seems fair to me.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's hard for me to say because we've never played with Archaon.
But to me, that just seems right.
I like the idea because this is going to be a theme with all three of the big bads, the big lads. All three of them don't get benefits from the allegiance abilities. They're sort of their own person. Yeah. And I think that's sort of cool because it's the idea of like, hey, I'm coming in to help you. Just because you're a bunch of Night Hunt, you don't make me better. I make you better, right? That's sort of cool. All right, so Nagash and the Kragnos, both of them, got a lot more interesting. And both of them have not been things that we've gotten because the points are very high.
Yes. Nagash being 995 points, a quarter of your army.
955. Yeah, half your army, almost.
Half your army.
Kragnos being 720. Kragnos, I don't know. But I'll tell you, let's talk about Nagash first.
Yeah.
So Nagash changed a little bit in that he can go in any death army.
Yay.
He gets he doesn't get their allegiance abilities, but he gets all their spells.
I like that. Because if he has 8 spells, isn't there 8 spells to choose from in a thingamajiggy?
Usually 6.
So you could cast all of them, and Mystic Shield, and Arcane Bolt.
And he can cast Arcane Bolt any number of times. So you could actually just load him up with 6, 7 Arcane Bolts, jump into combat, and do 6 or 7 D3.
He's a minigun.
So he used to be able to do that. So that's not a big change. But I think the allegiance ability change, the other thing that's a difference is a command ability that increases a unit's ward by 1. So wherever you are, you're getting deathless minions, 6-up ward, and then he can go boop, and somebody has a 5-up ward. So whoever's going to be in a big fight can get a 5-up ward.
And if you combine that with Cloak of the Waxing Moon, 4-up.
That's the Night Hunt. And then the other thing he can do is anytime a model comes back to life, if you're rolling for it, you can re-roll, or you can just add 1 to whatever you rolled. And if you don't roll for it, you just add 1. So if you have something that brings back 2 models, Nagash says bring back 3, and it's board wide.
Yeah.
So he can take your armies, especially things like Chain Rasps and things like that, where you might build them to be a tar pit unit that just comes back and comes back and comes back and comes back.
Like I should do with the Death Star, just damaging tar pit.
Then Nagash can do that. So I think, and plus, in a Night Hunt army in particular, and Night Hunt is really our only death army right now, so that's why
we're building Soul Blight.
We're acquiring Soul Blight slowly. But in a Night Hunt army, it actually is super interesting because that gives them a target for Mystic Shield, since he can be Mystic Shielded. He's not ethereal.
Yes.
He can be all-out defensed.
Yeah, something that can actually use some abilities and stuff.
So that means there's 2 things right there that are going to give him a -2 to his save, right? So it's basically a +1 save and ignore 1 level of rend, right? So that already puts him at a 2-up ignoring 1 rend. If he has a best day ever, that could be 2-up ignoring 2 rend, right? And they improved his weapons a little bit. He's still not
combat person.
Yeah, he's still not he's not going to fight and win against Kragnos in combat.
No, he's going to die.
But he is going to have some amazing. He's got some better attacks now. Yeah. And then again in Night Hunt, Night Hunt doesn't have a lot of
heavy hitters.
They don't have a lot of big hammer buff damage dealing units, and Nagash could
potentially be that.
Fill in a little bit of that role there. Yeah, so he's pretty interesting.
Nagash backed with maybe Blade Geists?
I do like Blade Geists.
Blade Geists can do some damage.
And Nagash also can pick 5 units and res people.
Like, Chain Rasps, Glaive Wraiths, Banshees, and Grimghasts.
Yeah.
You all just get 3 models
back. Having him on the field, he just brings stuff back. So pretty cool. Pretty cool having Nagash. Is he worth 1,000 points? That remains to be seen. But
especially Hand of Justice is probably worth 300 points just on its
own. But what I will say is, with all these abilities, I'm more interested. I'm more interested in getting a Nagash and testing him out and playing with him a little bit than I was before. Now I'm a little bit more interested. And in that same vein,
Kragnos.
Quaggy. Kragnos has basically 2 new abilities. Yay. He still hits like a truck.
Yay.
They took away his egg smashing ability where he gets bonuses to dragons.
Who cares?
Because there's not that many dragons.
There's four
There's units. The Stormcasts. Yeah, so it's basically only against Stormcast and only against some Stormcast builds. So really. I guess there might be, I think there's a dragon in cities, but mostly, who cares?
Okay.
But what he did get instead was, first he got a 6-up ward,
Yes.
which is great because he was very, very susceptible to mortals. And in a mortal, lots of stuff does mortals now. All the cruel boys do mortals.
Yeah.
Lots of frightful touch stuff does mortals. There's mortals in a lot of the game right now. And
Vindictors do mortals.
Vindictors do mortals, that's right. Evocators do mortals. So there's lots of mortal opportunities.
When Annihilate is charged, does that count as mortals or just normal?
That's also mortals. Yeah.
There's
just a lot of mortals in the game,
ton
right?
Of mortals.
So giving him some amount of reprieve from that, even though 6-up isn't the best ward in the world, it still gives you something. So that was good. And the second is he allows charges for destruction units around him on a 3d6, up to 18 inches away. Which means if you have an army like Iron Jaws or the Trolls and you really want to get them in, their weakness is they are a little bit slow.
There's the slow lads.
You get them into combat a lot faster, probably a turn earlier.
But here's where the good thing happens. If you're playing ogres.
Yeah, if you're playing ogres get mortals based on how high their charge roll was. So ogres with Kragnos could be serious business.
Also with a 3d6, you can't miss on a 3-inch charge. You just can't.
That's true.
Even if you go triple ones, you won't miss.
That's true.
You'll make it in barely.
So
you just can't miss.
Again, I don't know that Kragnos is an auto-include. I don't think he's the best piece ever, especially at 720 points.
I mean, it's cheaper than the Gash.
It is cheaper than a Gash. But at 720, with those abilities and with the amount that he hits for, he's in the conversation.
Yes, he is.
He's in the conversation. He's something that maybe I would like to explore a little bit.
Conversation with his hammer. His very large hammer.
Yes.
His absurdly large hammer.
It does 6 attacks, 4 damage each. And I think it's 3s, 2s. So on an all-out attack, it's 2s, 2s, 3 rend. That guy is just going to do
damage. You can't stop it. He could probably wipe Mangler Squigs without.
Oh, he could wipe a lot of units. Yeah, for sure.
He'd go. I think a Kragnos could wipe. 2 Kragnoses could easily wipe a Archaon.
Just think about it. He's got 4. Let's say 4 attacks of the 6 get through, right? And it's 3 rend. So if you had a 4-up save, you get no save, right? So on a 4-up save, he hits you 4 times. That's 16 damage. In one swing. And he's got 2 other attacks.
And he already does charge damage.
Yeah, and he can do charge damage, for sure.
So there's nothing stopping him from just obliterating you.
Yep, he's a beefy boy. He hits as
big as a mountain.
And he has an ability now where he counts for more models on an objective. When he's unbracketed, he counts for 30 models. And then as he brackets, he goes down a little bit.
That's 1 less than a Mega Gargant.
I can't remember how much Mega. I guess it depends on which Megas you're looking at.
Count for 31.
Are you sure?
Yes, Mightier makes Mightier.
I know the name of the ability, I just don't remember being 31.
It's 31 exactly.
Okay.
No more, no less.
So, whatever it is, the Mega Gargant has the Mega Gargant gets that much until he dies. Kragnos goes down, but even at his worst bracket, he still counts for 18 models, which is great because now he can be a hammer. He's got a little bit of protection, and he can play the objective game. The piece is looking pretty good. Again, 720 is very expensive.
You won't fit a lot of ogres in with that?
Yeah, not sure, but he's in the conversation for me now about what I want to bring in. All right, last. So there were 3 changes to the core rules. One is they took the Amulet of Destiny from a 5-up ward to a 6-up ward.
Yeah.
I don't care. I mean, it's a huge nerf, but we try not to use the generic artifacts. We almost always try to use the Battle Tome artifacts.
Yes,
just because it's more thematic, it's more fun that way.
And the generic artifacts seem a little cheaty with Amulet of Destiny.
Yeah, Amulet of Destiny. Yeah, especially
make someone a wizard.
If you pick from those,
too unfair.
If you pick from those, you're almost always going to pick Arcane Tome or Amulet of Destiny.
To give your
and
guys.
then every game's the same.
Yes.
Right. So it's funner to pick from your Battle Tome.
And plus the stuff from your Battle Tome, like Nurgle, usually helps other people.
Yeah. So that's okay. That's one thing. Then the other 2 are both pretty interesting. So again, for a lot of casual players, if you're not, up to date on all the FAQs and everything, 2 little rules that have been changed. The first one is, let's do the simple one first. The first one is for heroic recovery. So this is one of the heroic actions that you can do. Old rule, you roll. If you get under their bravery, they heal D3. If they get exactly their bravery, you get 1, and that's it. New rule, you get rid of that nonsense about only getting 1. Whether if it's equal to or below, you get D3.
If it's above, nothing.
But you can no longer do it in combat.
I agree with that.
You like that one?
Yeah, it seems unfair to heal in mid-combat.
I really liked it too because I like that heroic recovery grants this healing ability, but it did make certain heroes that were already very tough a lot tougher because, they've got 12, 15, 20 wounds or whatever, and now you're healing them D3 twice a battle round, right? Every turn. It makes them really hard to kill. Now you can at least play around heroic recovery in that if I get into combat and I stay there, I know that guy's not going to heroic recovery on his next turn.
Yeah.
So it gives a little bit of counterplay,
Well,
which I really like.
That specific model.
Right, that guy's not going to heal from heroic recovery.
And it's almost impossible to get your opponent's every single hero in combat. It's almost impossible to do.
Sure, but I mean, if there's some back hero on the back line, some wizard or something, I haven't attacked and is not hurt, you're not going to heroic recovery on him, right?
No.
So it's still a way to shut it down. So I like that. I think it's thematically appropriate. We missed it a little bit in our last play. We thought we remembered the rule about halfway through the game. But we're good going forward.
He'd be dead by now. He would have died.
He would have died.
He would have become dead to death.
He would have died. So, second one that's a little bit different is Unleash Hell. So the old rule, if you charged within 9 inches of a unit, within 9 inches of a unit, that unit could, for command ability, shoot.
The entire unit.
The entire unit could shoot. Fine, simple. But it had some unexpected problems.
Yeah.
And so what they've done now is it hasn't really had any problems for us because we haven't used it that much. But you would have a big brick of, let's say we had 15 snake ladies, right? And you charge into one, that would be 15 snake ladies shooting at you.
30 bullets.
Yeah, because our unit of snake ladies is only 5 strong, so it's not as problematic.
But that just wipes the unit. That could just wipe it on a charge.
Oh, especially because 6s are mortals, right?
Yeah.
So
they just wipe that unit on a charge.
Then the way that they've changed it now is first they moved it down to 6 inches, so you have to get a little bit closer. And second, only models within 6 inches can shoot.
Yay!
Which means that if you get a unit of those 15 snake ladies, now maybe only that first row can fire. So the Unleashed Hells are a lot less devastating than they were before. We haven't had a situation with the new Unleashed Hell come up yet, but overall I think it's really good. I think that it's still, if you're charging into a unit of archers or something, that command ability is still there for you, and I think that was sort of the original intent. And it takes down some of the, have a screen exactly 8 inches away so that when you charge in, the whole unit can go. But you can have a screen.
Another thing. Well,
hold on. You can have a screen that's a little bit closer, and then you can still shoot. For example, in our Big Yellers list, there's a unit of 6 Bolt Boys. And 6 Bolt Boys, they can be pretty tight. And then you keep the Hobgrots maybe 3 inches from them so that you don't get into combat. And when the Hobgrots get charged, these guys are probably all still going to be within 6 inches to fire. So there's still stuff you can do with it. It's not terrible, but it's going to take some of the feel bad moments away where you're off on one side and a whole unit of super shooters shoots you. I think that's a great change as well. I'm real excited about that. Now, what were you going to say?
Because Hobgrots are normally used to hold objectives.
Well, you can use them however you want, but they're chaff, meaning they're small points and they're not very good. They're out there to run in the way of stuff and die. They could be used to hold points, and hey, if 80 units holds an 80-point unit holds an objective, great.
80 units.
No, 80 points. Then you've got a 19, 20 off doing other stuff, so that's good. If the 80-point unit buys you returns where some guy has to kill through their 10 wounds before he can get to you, hey, 80 points buys me a turn. That's a great use of 80 points. So that kind of unit that's real cheap is good, not because it actually does anything on the table, but because of how it slows down or just its cheapness makes it have different uses. And that's pretty cool to see. But anyway, that's it for the Battlescroll. Apparently these will be coming out every so often.
I have one thing about the Hobgrots that you could use.
What?
Since they have a shooting attack, if you are using them to have exactly 6 inches away, so that they're still contesting the objective, but you're not, when you do that, they have a half-inch base. So you can get, like, a lot of ranks.
Yeah.
A lot of ranks
For sure.
of Hobgrots.
So yeah, so that was it for the Battlescroll. Now 40K, they've said for 40K they're going to be coming out with something like this quarterly, meaning every 3 months. And they haven't officially announced that, at least not that I've seen for AOS. But we could see them quarterly. Frankly, I think that this Battlescroll was, from a casual perspective, was a good one. And it's one I'd like to see more of. The most impactful things they changed are the core rule changes to Heroic Recovery and Unleash Hell. And both of those, I think, are very, very positive changes. Some of the points, like I said, I don't know how big of a difference they made. Maybe it's a bigger difference on the competitive scene.
Did Archeon change in points?
I don't remember if the big guys changed. I think the Gash changed. I don't remember if Archeon did, and Kragnos did not.
Why don't you change Archeon's points game workshop?
I don't know why you care so much. We don't even have Archeon. You never even have to play against him.
He has so overpowered.
And why do you think that? You've never played him. Maybe you play him and you kill him the first time you play him. Maybe he won't be overpowered.
His scroll is overpowered.
Anyway, I think a lot of people out there on the interwebs were looking for this Battlescroll to, fix all the problems and make the game perfect in their eyes.
No.
Of course, every person has a different vision of what perfect means, right?
Like Sigmar and everyone else.
Right.
We're like all the gods.
So I think that there was some disappointment because there was a lot of hype and wish listing for what people wanted, and this particular Battlescroll took very modest steps. But I think basically all the steps were good ones. Could it have gone a little farther in some areas? Maybe. But could they have done things just a little bit differently? Sure. But I think if they're going to do quarterly updates, I think the General's Handbook's going to come out, and that's where there should be sort of bigger changes on a one-year basis. And then if they're going to do quarterly updates, little, efforts around the margins, making little adjustments, that's perfectly fine. And frankly, if we had giant adjustments every quarter, I don't know that would be super fun, because by the time you get your army together and painted up and ready to go, the next one drops and suddenly your army doesn't work anymore. Or, oh shoot, now it's 2,010 points, so I have to change my army. So I think if they were making big changes quarterly, that would be a problem. But the little nibble changes, I'm mostly okay with. Final thoughts on the Battlescroll?
Orcs.
Drake got some Iron Jaws for Christmas, so he's in orc mode right now. Eventually, once they all get painted and up, we'll probably have some Iron Jaw action on the table. But anyway, that's our thoughts on the Battlescroll. If you haven't taken a look at it yet, definitely take a look. Overall, it's pretty positive, I would say. Maybe not as positive as it could have been, but in general, I don't think there's anything that got completely backwards. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. This has been Battle Ready.